Before this video ends tonight, I think some of you are finally going to understand why your soul has felt so heavy lately. Not physically, emotionally. And if you have been silently carrying pressure nobody fully understands, then stay with me carefully tonight. Because this message is for the people who are tired of pretending they are okay. The people who smile in front of others, but mentally collapse when they are finally alone. The people who keep saying, "I'll handle it," even when their heart is screaming for rest. And maybe nobody around you truly realizes how exhausted you have become. Because you became too good at hiding it. You learned how to keep functioning while emotionally drowning. You learned how to laugh while overthinking. You learned how to help other people while silently falling apart yourself. You learned how to survive while your soul slowly became tired of carrying everything alone. And tonight, God wants to speak directly to the version of you that nobody else fully sees. The exhausted version. The emotionally overloaded version. The mentally drained version. The version carrying pressure in silence. Because some of you watching this right now are not just tired. You are emotionally overwhelmed. And the dangerous part is, you became so used to carrying pain alone, that now you think this heaviness is normal. But listen carefully. You were never created to carry this much emotional weight by yourself. Not the fear. Not the anxiety. Not the pressure. Not the loneliness. Not the silent heartbreak. Not the responsibility of holding everyone together. And before this video ends tonight, I believe some of you are finally going to feel understood in a way you have needed for a very long time. So stay with me. Because the part coming next may explain why your spirit has felt exhausted for so long. Some of you are carrying conversations in your head that never stop. Even now, while watching this, your mind keeps replaying pressure, mistakes, fear, future problems, things you should have said, things you wish never happened. And nobody notices how mentally loud your inner world has become. That is why your exhaustion feels impossible to explain. Because your pain is invisible. People only see your outside behavior. They do not see the emotional survival happening inside your chest every single day. Some of you have been in survival mode for so long, that peace now feels unfamiliar. Your body rests. But your mind never fully stops. Even during quiet moments, your nervous system stays alert. What if something goes wrong? What if I fail? What if people leave? What if life becomes heavier? What if I cannot handle another painful season? And slowly your mind became emotionally exhausted from carrying tomorrow before tomorrow even arrived. Some nights you lay in bed completely drained. But your thoughts refuse to let you rest. You replay conversations. You overanalyze everything. You think about responsibilities. You think about people who hurt you. You think about your future. You think about how tired you are. And eventually your mind becomes emotionally loud, even in silence. Some of you are not tired because life is busy. You are tired because your soul never fully relaxes. And the painful part is, most people around you do not even realize what you are carrying internally. That is why you started suffering quietly. You distract yourself. You scroll endlessly. You isolate emotionally. You stay busy so you do not have to fully feel the heaviness. But deep inside, you are exhausted from being strong all the time. And if this feels painfully accurate right now, keep listening carefully. Because the next part may explain why your heart feels heavier lately. Some of you became emotionally responsible for everyone. You became the strong one. The dependable one. The listener. The comforter. People come to you with their pain. But when your heart needed comfort, you suffered alone. And eventually something dangerous happened. You started believing, my pain is less important than everyone else's. So you kept carrying more. More pressure. More responsibility. More emotional weight. Until your soul quietly started collapsing underneath invisible exhaustion. And maybe people recently called you distant. But the truth is, you are not distant. You are overwhelmed. Some people are not cold. They are emotionally exhausted. Some people are not lazy. They are mentally carrying too much. Some people are not ignoring everyone. They are silently trying not to break. And maybe that person is you. Maybe your soul became tired from carrying emotional battles nobody else fully understands. The pressure to stay strong. The pressure to keep functioning. The pressure to act normal. The pressure to keep smiling. And slowly, you forgot what emotional safety even feels like. But do not leave this message yet. Because the next truth may be the exact thing your exhausted heart needs tonight. Listen carefully. Some of you secretly believe that if you stop carrying everything, life will completely fall apart. So you keep holding everything tightly. Your future. Your fear. Your pain. Your responsibilities. Your relationships. Your survival. Because deep down, you are terrified of losing control again. Especially after everything life already put you through. But constantly carrying fear inside your nervous system will slowly destroy your peace. That is why even calm moments feel heavy now. Because your soul never fully exits survival mode. And tonight God is gently telling you, you were never supposed to carry every battle alone. Some of you are emotionally collapsing because you keep carrying burdens your heart was never designed to hold forever. The future. The outcomes. The fear of disappointment. The pressure to hold everyone together. And maybe this is why your spirit feels exhausted lately. Not because you are weak, but because you have been emotionally carrying too much for too long. And stay with me here. Because the next part is where healing quietly begins. Some of you do not even remember what real emotional rest feels like anymore. Even when your body sleeps, your emotions stay awake. Your nervous system stays tense. Your thoughts stay active. Your heart stays heavy. And eventually exhaustion becomes your normal state. But God notices. He notices how hard you try. He notices the pressure you never explain. He notices the hidden panic behind your calm voice. He notices the silent breakdowns. And tonight, He is not asking you to become stronger. He is asking you to release what is crushing your soul. Some of you need to stop carrying guilt for things that were never fully your fault. Some of you need to stop carrying responsibility for everyone else's healing. Some of you need to stop carrying old emotional wounds that reopen every night. And some of you desperately need to stop carrying tomorrow before tomorrow arrives. Because anxiety often comes from mentally living in painful futures that do not even exist yet. Your mind keeps preparing for disaster. Preparing for rejection. Preparing for loss. Preparing for heartbreak. And slowly your spirit becomes exhausted from fighting imaginary pain all day. That is why your peace disappeared. Not because God abandoned you, but because your exhausted heart has been carrying too much fear alone. And maybe tonight, God is finally giving your soul permission to breathe again. Listen carefully to this part. Because I think some of you have needed to hear this for years. God is not disappointed in you because you became tired. He understands how much you have been carrying silently. He understands how much you have been carrying silently. The pressure. The grief. The overthinking. The loneliness. The emotional fatigue. The fear you never fully explained to anybody. And tonight, He is asking you to stop carrying your suffering like you were created to survive completely alone. You do not need to earn rest. You do not need to prove your worth through exhaustion. You do not need to destroy your emotional health just to convince people you are strong. Some of you learned survival so deeply, that now peace feels uncomfortable. When life becomes quiet, your mind immediately searches for danger. Because your nervous system forgot what safety feels like. But healing begins the moment your soul finally realizes, I am safe enough to stop carrying everything alone. And if your heart feels emotional while hearing this right now, that is because exhausted people rarely feel truly understood. But tonight, you are understood. Completely. Some of you almost broke recently. Quietly. Internally. You kept functioning outside, while emotionally collapsing inside. And nobody fully noticed. Because people usually see performance. They do not see emotional survival. They see you working. They see you replying. They see you showing up. But they do not see how mentally exhausted you became trying to hold yourself together. And some nights you became so emotionally overwhelmed that you wished life would pause for a little while. Not because you wanted to disappear forever, but because you desperately needed relief. You needed emotional safety. You needed rest. You needed somebody to finally understand the invisible pain inside your chest. And God saw every one of those moments. Every hidden tear. Every exhausted prayer. Every silent breakdown. Every trembling breath. You were never weak for struggling. You were carrying too much alone. There is a difference. And maybe this is the first time in a long time your soul finally feels seen. So stay until the end. Because what comes next may give your heart hope again. Something powerful happens when emotionally exhausted people finally feel safe enough to put their pain down. Their breathing softens. Their nervous system calms. Their thoughts slow down. Their soul stops fighting survival every second. And slowly, hope starts returning. Not loud hope. Not fake positivity. Quiet hope. The kind that whispers, maybe I do not have to carry life alone anymore. That is where healing begins. Not when every problem disappears, but when your soul finally stops carrying everything by itself. And maybe God is teaching you something in this season that life never taught you before. How to release. How to breathe again. How to stop controlling every outcome. How to stop punishing yourself mentally. How to stop carrying emotional weight that is crushing your spirit. Because real strength is not pretending nothing hurts you. Real strength is becoming honest about your pain before it destroys you silently. And maybe your exhaustion is not punishment. Maybe it is your soul begging for restoration. Maybe God is not trying to break you. Maybe He is trying to show you that you were never meant to survive this life alone. And listen closely now. Because this next truth may become your hope. Some of you think this heavy season will never end. You think the exhaustion will always stay. You think the pressure will never leave. You think your heart will always feel this tired. But what if this painful season is not permanent? What if your soul is much closer to healing than you realize? What if the version of you that survived all this emotional pain is about to enter a new season your heart cannot fully see yet? Because some seasons are not sent to destroy you. Some seasons reveal how exhausted your soul became. So restoration can finally begin. And maybe lately life has felt unbearably heavy because your spirit has been carrying too much for too long. But God is slowly teaching your heart, you do not have to survive alone anymore. And maybe the reason this message found you tonight is because your breaking point is not the end. Maybe relief is closer than you think. Maybe the season that almost destroyed you emotionally is finally beginning to loosen its grip. Maybe your soul is approaching a new chapter. And in the next episode, we are going deeper into that healing. Because maybe, just maybe, the season that almost broke you is finally starting to end. So tonight, stop carrying everything alone for one quiet moment. Breathe. You survived emotional battles nobody even saw. And God understands the invisible weight you have been carrying silently. He sees the exhaustion. He sees the fear. He sees the overthinking. He sees the emotional pressure. He sees the hidden loneliness. And tonight, He is not asking you to become stronger. He is inviting your exhausted soul to rest. Because you were never created to carry endless pain alone. And maybe for the first time in a very long time, your heart can finally stop fighting survival mode. Because you are not abandoned. You are not invisible. And you are not carrying this alone anymore. And remember this tonight before you leave. The season that almost broke you emotionally will not last forever. Your story is not ending in exhaustion. Healing is getting closer. And I think deep down, your soul already feels it. And maybe the most important thing you need to hear tonight is this. The season that almost broke you will not last forever. One day you will realize, the pain that exhausted you was not the end of your story. And in the next episode, we are going to talk about the moment your soul finally begins leaving survival mode behind. Because maybe, just maybe, the season that almost broke you is finally starting to end.